only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Oh, we no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters. We will bring the news and reviews of your favorite brews. My name is Dan Baker. I'm joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hafner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
Feels good to be behind the microphone again. And you know, usually there's some kind of strange wandering preamble here, but we have so much to do. I'm not going to let myself do the preamble. I'm just going to tell you about the Soch, and then we're just going to go. Search Beer Busters on the internet, and you will probably find us. And there's real easy ways to tell us, but here's the real way. On Instagram and Threads, we're at Beer Busters. Facebook, we are Beer Busters Podcast. Don't forget beerbusterspodcast.com, where you can add /shop to that URL if you would like, and check out some cool merch, which is flying off the shelves these days. YouTube, we have, we're Beer Busters Podcast, and of course there's Patreon, where we are Beer Busters. Get yourself access to the behind-the-scenes goodies, the archive of the punishment videos, the last calls, extra calls, bonus calls, you know, all the bonus and fun extra stuff. As little as $1 a month. There are some shakeups in the Patreon and Apple world, but we're still going to be around. We're just going to roll with whatever punches Patreon says we got to roll with, but we will keep everything coming at you, I promise. Now, the reason I did that first, I know we're a little out of order here. We got a lot of people on. We got some of our dearest friends in the business. There are big moves that are happening, and we've talked about some of them, and we're going to reveal some more tonight, and I am so happy that we are doing this, and I couldn't imagine a better crew to be excited over and spread the word going down the line. We got, of course, from Poor Man's, we got Ryan, we got James, we got Sam, and joining us is the homebrewer extraordinaire, but branching into professional brewing, details to come, Brian Mills. Everyone, thank you for joining us. I realized I messed up like broadcasting 101 there.
You thanked everyone at once,
Yep.
and no one knew who should respond.
This is why I don't work in radio anymore.
I just want to say that was some impressive cutting to the chase, Dan.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A veritable Brady Bunch over here.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had this many people on the show, period, but let alone Zoom. My Zoom screen has 3 rows, and I don't think that's ever happened, except for when we did like panels for stuff. So I think here is probably the best place to start. And Ryan, I'm gonna send this question your way just because you're first on my screen. No other reason besides that. So there have been big moves in the world of Poor Man's. We obviously know you have the new location, which is great, but recently you guys announced that you were taking over Saint Boniface. You guys now own Saint Boniface. That is exciting, and I have to ask, what led to that idea? It's a great idea. I'm just curious where it started.
So they kind of approached us before they decided to list it and brought it up to us. And it being the size that it is, we kind of knew right away that we could move all production together and run both tap rooms kind of, you know, simultaneously off of one production and just kind of really lower our overhead. And they've been our biggest competitor from day one. Like we both self-distribute in Lancaster. That's our bread and butter. So the fact that we could kind of control our own destiny in that sense too, it just made total sense for us to move forward with it.
That's so cool. I mean, I can't imagine a better way forward as a beer fan than to see you guys take that. Because, I mean, we know there is a history there, and we know that there is history of good beer, which, you know, that led into the not so great politics, and we won't get too far into that. But it's great to see that the brand has a right place with you guys, because you guys are going to treat it the way that, again, as a beer fan, I would want it to be treated. So I guess kind of thinking about the political aspect of it, again, we don't have to go too far, but what was it like navigating that?
Well, we kind of felt like we were the only people that probably could have pulled this off.
Yeah, I'll say.
Being like in effort of the same town, a lot of people in the area already know myself, James, and Sam. So we didn't feel like we needed to come in and make any sort of changes outside of just saying, "Hey, we are the owners now. The old owners are gone. This is who you're dealing with," and allow our reputation to speak for itself with the amount of stuff we've done in the community, the way we've always approached everything we do as a business. And we've kind of used that as the point when we're kind of talking this whole process through is this would only work for Poor Man's to do it. It makes the most sense for Poor Man's to do it. We didn't see anyone else who'd be able to come in without changing the name and be able to pull this off. But with our background with a lot of these accounts and our background with a lot of these customers, just this fact that we come in and say, hey, this is the new owners, our track record, you know what we're about, and we can kind of step right into it and just get to work.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you guys really are the only ones who could make it happen. How long, and I guess, Sam, I'll send this one your way so you can jump on a little bit. How long have you guys, how long before were you guys looking into that? Like, when did the idea first happen versus the actual acquisition?
I mean, it was on and off. I mean, I know the previous owner had talked to Ryan and I maybe even like a year and a half before the acquisition and everything, that they were kind of toying around the idea of selling. And we did initially put an offer in, which then someone else came in with an offer that saying that they had cash, and that fell through. So that's when they came back to us, and we were able to close the deal then after. I mean, it took a couple of months to get us to where we are, to taking over and closing and everything. But overall, I'd say it's probably like a year or so of just talking back and forth with those guys.
So if they were already floating the idea, how did word get to you? I'm just always so curious how that happens. How does word get to you guys that Saint Boniface is looking to sell?
Well, we were friends with them, so they always just joked around about them just selling. So, and we always joked around about wanting to buy their production. So it kind of just came together and worked out for the both of us, really.
Yeah, it did get listed before we really got, like, they gave us a heads up, hey, we're going to sell it. But it wasn't like it was like, directly to us. It got listed and then we had to go kind of approach it and go after it.
Yeah.
But thankfully, even though it fell through for the people that got in front of us, we were able to make it happen after that.
Was your intention always to keep the Saint Boniface brand? Was there ever a thought of acquiring it and then just making it another Poor Man's location?
We did talk about that. And basically what we figured out in looking at numbers and looking at, wholesale distribution and contracts and that sort of stuff, we felt like keeping the Boniface brand, because the beers were so different than Poor Man's, that we'd be able to pull off making both. If we could kind of right some of the reputation wrongs just from the ownership change, we thought that was going to be the fastest trajectory of the business. And we really did like the idea of having two creative outlets that are pretty different. Like Poor Man's is very lager centric. We make nothing but lager. Boniface makes lagers also, but they also make mostly IPAs and English ales. So there's some stuff that we obviously make tons of IPA on the Poor Man side, but it's very different. So it kind of gave us the ability to be able to express different ideas and products that we wouldn't be able to get into otherwise, and kind of diversify ourselves too. So we can kind of, go into accounts and say, we can pretty much hit anything you're looking for as far as, what you want to have on draft from one of the brands or the other.
Have you gotten to the point yet where you come up with an idea for a new recipe and you're torn between which brand to brew it under?
Not yet. It kind of like works itself out kind of nicely, because it's like if it's an IPA and it's going to be clear, it might as well be lager yeast and it might as well go to Poor Man's. If it's an IPA and we want it to be like a little more estery, we can use our house strain. Or if we want to make a hazy IPA under the Boniface brand, or if it's English, it goes to Boniface. The only ones that are kind of tricky are like maybe the dark beers, like whether or not we want to call something a Baltic Porter or call it a stout. But we'll see if we run into that this winter. But so far, it's kind of worked itself out. And we have, our production staff is a total of 7 guys. So like between talking things out, usually by the time it gets to the point of us brewing anything, it's kind of already like, outlined where it should go. thankfully.
So then on the back end, I'm curious, like you treat this now as like, one operation with just like two separate names, or like how much separation is there, or do you see there being between the brands, or is it just really the names and the styles?
So each tap room has completely different staff. The only thing that's different, or the only thing that's kind of cohesive, is the production guys are the same. So the same guys are out. Sam and James are out selling the beer for both brands. Myself and the other brewers are all brewing the beer for both brands. The biggest difference is kind of branding, and we even brew the beers differently. Like for one instance, we have a different mash thickness for Poor Man's beers than we do for Boniface beers. We use different acids to adjust the pH for Poor Man's beers versus Boniface beers. So it's very different in the processes too on what we do on both ends to try to make sure that the beers are completely different, that you're not going to get beers that taste the same, even though they're coming out of one brewery.
Right.
James, what are some of the changes you've seen on the sales end now having both brands?
I will apologize. My phone froze there, so I did not hear the last part of Ryan's thing. So I was trying to figure it out and go to Wi-Fi, and it froze, and I freaked out. Can you repeat the question, please?
Well, he was just talking about some of the changes and with the brew house, with having two different brands and two different identities within the beers. I'm curious what changes you've seen on the sales side now that you have two very distinct brands that you're trying to sell versus when it was just Poor Man's.
Well, so I'll be honest, I only came back on. So when we had started Poor Man 6 years ago, I helped out initially. I kind of went off and did my own thing for a little bit with a little car lot. And then when this whole thing started to kind of take fruition, the three of us had quite a few conversations, and I actually sold out my car dealership, and I came on when we took over a few weeks beforehand back in May. So it's a little bit of a loaded question for me because I'm kind of getting caught up to speed on going from selling cars, working on cars to, now selling beer, trying to kind of sell both brands. I mean, so far for me, it's went really well. Like, I mean, Sam would probably be better to answer that question just because he's been on the ground with Poor Man selling from day one. I kind of there's a lot of accounts outside of Lancaster that, some had Poor Man's and didn't have Boniface. Some had Boniface, didn't have Poor Man. So it's kind of fun trying to, cross sell it and get both beers in there. So I kind of treat it as sort of the same, but sort of separate, I guess. Like, it so far so good for me, at least from what I've seen, trying to get caught up to speed with both brands. I'm kind of on the fly doing this a little bit.
Sam.
Yeah. So I agree with him. It's both brands have helped each other both grow, because Boniface had a distribution range that Poor Man's didn't at the time. They were hooked up with wholesalers. They're out in the Philly area, the Reading area, which we were out there a little bit with the Poor Man side, but not quite as much as they were. So that kind of got our foot in the door with some wholesalers and just kind of opened our eyes to see how they work and how we can push more Poor Man's through that outlet. And then with our reputation in the community, help pushing the Boniface brand then again as well, especially in the Lancaster area. I know we've come back, or we've gained a few accounts back that Boniface wasn't in, that Poor Man's was, and they started carrying both brands. So they both really helped each other grow even more than what they were.
Now, Sam, you might not know the answer to this question, but I'm curious because there were some places, I know of a few in Lancaster City particular, that stopped serving, that had carried Saint Boniface and then stopped towards the end. Do you know, have you been able to reattach with any of those accounts? I'm just curious if people are embracing the brand again. Has word gotten out that you guys are now the owners?
Yep. Yeah. There's some places that still don't realize that we're the new owners, but the ones that do have embraced bringing Boniface back. So that's been good for us.
Now, you guys had an interesting predicament in that you had the former location which I'm sure there was a lot of talk as to what to do with the original Poor Man's location. I know for a while, Ryan, you were using it just as a production facility when the new Hoagie House opened on Main Street in Ephrata. What was the conversation with what you were going to do with that place? And I guess then ultimately tell us what you've decided, which, spoiler alert, we already know, but our listeners might not.
So we had kind of gone through the whole process and thought about continuing to produce at both. Basically, we would kind of float back and forth between everybody. Our production guys would go back and forth from each spot, and we do a decent amount of contract brewing at Poor Man's. So we thought we might be able to use, some of that tank space just for contract brewing. And then I think I brewed the day after we closed on Boniface, or 2 days after we closed on Boniface, at the old Poor Man's location. And like something happened at Boniface that day, and I had to get over there, but I was stuck at the brewery until I could finish for the day. And then we like kind of all talked and we're like, this is dumb. We shouldn't brew here at all anymore. Like we were eventually going to call it quits there and pull the plug and move it all. We should just do it right now. So we started trying to figure out when we were going to do that. We had at that point the entire cellar full of different beers that needed to be packaged. We had brewed like a bunch of one-off beers, thinking that once we got into Boniface, we would just want to be able to brew just the core beers to start and then kind of work our way back. And stuff got pretty busy right away. So like we took over, we closed April 30th. The month of May, we doubled the sales of Boniface from April. So Sam and James are probably being a little modest about the kind of the change in wholesale, but it was like a light switch. There was quite a big changeover. We pretty much doubled what we did in wholesale, or what they did in wholesale, compared to the next month. So we realized like we need to be all hands on deck at the brewery. So we started talking about, do we send everything to auction? Do we try to pull it all out and put it in the warehouse and then sell it as we have time? And then Brian had actually contacted me about, I don't think he might have caught wind about us buying Boniface, and we had talked back when Mount Gretna went up for sale. And he had mentioned if anything ever comes up, let me know. I'm in the idea of purchasing a place that's already functional. So I hit him up and said, hey, we have this space. You could either use it for production, or, you could convert it back to a tap room, whatever you want to do with it. But we've got, 10-barrel brew house and a canning line, 10 and 20-barrel tanks. And, basically everything is there. And we'll offer you a pretty good discount if you make it so we don't have to try to get all this shit back out of here. Because I'm sure you guys remember, we had some stuff really crammed into that space. It was packed. So like if we moved the stuff out, it was worthwhile for us. And that's the route we ended up going with.
Yeah, so there's the reveal. Brian, you're opening up your brewery there. That's Sorry, incredible. Ryan. Yeah. So we've had conversations about this. I know when Stickman closed, RIP, we met up there and we were having some beers and you were talking about it. And I'm glad to see that it's coming to fruition and you're getting yourself into a great spot the equipment's already there, so that's good. But like, there's been plenty of great beer that's flowed through that building, and the tradition's going to continue. So, what is the name of your brewery?
It is going to be called Inspiration Brewing.
I love it. And I know we normally get to the social at the end. There is an Instagram. I've been following you for a while. It's so cool to see the progress. Is it just at Inspiration Beer?
Inspiration Brewing Co.
Brewing Co. Sorry. I promise I have been following. I'm just not looking at my phone at the moment. For those who are not on this call and can't see me. Yes. No, so that's amazing. So I guess one of my questions is, why now?
That is the $64 million question.
I know. And like you clearly have the beer chops to do it and to do it right. And I'm so excited for you. But beer sales are declining. So it's a bold move to open now.
Yeah. Buy low, right? Sell high.
True. All right.
So, yeah, and that was kind of the impetus for the switch in my mind from like finding a location to create something versus, getting into a space that existed and, taking over that existing space for, an economically better deal than going and buying all this stuff new.
Yeah.
So like, through talking to Ryan and I guess in my mind, that switch started happening maybe a little over a year ago. And at that point, I had already formed the LLC and did all of that stuff so that there was a company ready to go to jump on an opportunity when it came up. Fast forward a little bit to Lidditz Craft Beer Fest this past year. I was in the homebrew portion of that and was one of the 10 finalists pouring at the event. Ended up being a brewer's choice by Cox Brewing. Subsequently, they unfortunately closed.
Yeah.
And Ryan was kind enough to reach out and say, hey, we'll take that Mexican lager here. I think it kind of fits their sales.
We wanted it anyway, and they picked it for us.
It's so horrible.
So it was kind of during that process of brewing that beer, and leading up to that we started this talk. And it's beginning of this month, I officially took over the lease on the building. I'm working through the closing checklist for the lender. So guys, hopefully you'll get paid soon. So yeah, after that, there will be a little bit of construction. If you're familiar with the way the setup is now, when they changed it over to production space, the brew house is now in what used to be the tap room out front. It's can't fit in the existing space. So the plan is to build an addition on the back, move the brew house there, and recreate the tap room up front.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean,
what will be the vibe, or what do you envision the vibe to be once the tap room opens?
As much as possible, like relaxed, chill, warm type of vibe. There are definitely things that I want to do to pay homage to what that space has been for the last 6 years.
For sure. There is a nice, tiny little cozy kitchen there. Any plans to have food?
Yeah. Right now the plan is a panini press. Make a handful of selection of paninis. I'll stick to the poor man's methodology and keep an air fryer back there. Maybe we can do some pretzel bites or something.
Some egg rolls, spring rolls.
I'm saying I have an egg roll lady for you.
Yeah, you got to have at least one egg roll.
At one point, I told Sam, I'm like, I got to throw that into the deal, like egg roll delivery every Friday or something.
I feel like it has to be.
Yeah. So, and then some snack type foods. Maybe find like a local gourmet popcorn place or something.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Very cool.
So obviously you're going to have a Mexican lager on. What else?
I have had pretty good success with my Helles, so I will have that on. I have, thanks to Ryan, a couple nice lagering tanks, so I will have to have at least a couple lagers on all the time, and a variety. Like my plan is those guys already talked about their styles. My plan is to kind of fill in the gaps in the rest of the beer world out there, whether it is some sour beer, potentially because of the addition on the back, maybe be able to put some barrel space in there. So just kind of offer that variety to start with.
Now, as a home brewer, you sort of have a reputation for brewing some really weird shit that some of us have never heard of, too. And I understand that on a homebrew scale, some of those things can be quite expensive. So I'm sure, scaling it up to a more commercial size batch might not be in the cards. But
right.
Are there some of those strange beers that you brewed as a home brewer that you want to bring to the commercial level?
Nothing that's like really out there, but say the Irish red with ginger was pretty popular. Not like a crazy beer, but maybe something you didn't expect. I know Dan was a fan of the German chocolate cake stout. That's a easy one to do.
Yes.
And that's kind of where the inspiration name comes from too. as a brewer, there's so many different things that we lean on for inspiration, whether it's those pastry stouts, or trying to nail a traditional style of beer, or food that inspires those beer creations. So, that's what, that name lends itself to.
Very cool.
I hate to ask, but I feel like as a podcaster, it's my job. Do you have a timeline or a goal for opening?
I'm hoping around the beginning of the year. We'll see. Okay.
Well, our fingers are crossed for you. It's always good to add another brewery to the Ephrata Beer Trail, perhaps. You can even hyper local now within Lancaster County.
Yeah, hopefully we can make Northeast Lancaster County a beer destination.
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
So I'm curious, you mentioned the name inspiration, which is super cool, and like the reasoning behind it, but I have to ask, was that the first idea for a name, and did no one else already have that taken? I'm kind of surprised.
Surprisingly, that is not taken in the
beer
world.
Weird. Okay. I would have thought it would have been. But...
And as part of this, I quickly filed a trademark. It's still in process, so we'll see if that works. But
okay, trademark.
Yeah, but I went through a whole bunch of different names. The original homebrew name that I was using wasn't going to translate well to the commercial world. So I knew at some point that was going to be abandoned, and then it was trying to come up with a name that that rang true with people, and also could be used as a name that implies a welcoming environment too for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Yeah, I know all too well the heartbreak, the crestfallenness of coming up with a super cool name and then going to Google and being like, nope, 300 people had that same idea.
It's trying to come up with beer names.
Exactly. Yep. But that's very cool. I'm glad you got it.
So I assume at Saint Boniface, you guys are still making the pizzas there, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That was something that was pretty iconic about visiting there.
Yeah, it's definitely our best seller in the kitchen. We do like 2,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and they're delicious. We're gonna try to put an emphasis on some of the stuff that was going on with the pizzas that I kind of never even knew until we owned the place. And like there's organic local flour used in all of the pizza dough. The cheese blend is done in-house. The sauce is made in-house. Like that's kind of stuff we all plan on highlighting here on social media when we get some time, is kind of like touching some of the stuff that wasn't really talked about before that we've found out once we've taken over. That was kind of cool.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I've been eating their pizza for years.
It seems like the sort of thing you would want to highlight.
Right, yeah. Especially these days.
For sure.
We're not going to talk about the former owner's social media tactics, but we all know it wasn't great. So.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
I speaking of the food, though, I seem to remember, was it a dessert calzone? Was that a thing?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, there was a small period where there was like dessert calzones and pizzas. Our head chef, Sean, actually just got back from vacation. And like when he got back, the first thing he wanted to tell me is he wants to start dessert pizzas like ASAP. He was very adamant.
I already love him.
Getting these back as soon as possible. So I think we are going to have some of that stuff here shortly.
Nice.
If you're bringing that back, then you better bring back the dessert egg rolls.
I don't know. Those were made by M.
Yeah.
I don't know if M is in the process of wanting to take on making egg rolls again. She's in the next room. She probably hears me.
They were so I remember the one time you guys had the dessert sampler, the egg roll sampler, where it was like 3 different dessert egg rolls. Oh my God.
It could happen.
I tell people about those all the time.
They were delicious. I think Sam and I ate more than them than probably.
Yeah, we definitely ate quite a bit.
Yeah. I think the desertification of otherwise not dessert food is an underappreciated art.
Okay, so Boniface has the dessert pizza and calzone. Poor Man's is bringing back the dessert egg rolls. I'm gonna make it happen. So Brian, you need to have dessert nachos or something.
Yeah, let's work on getting open first.
Nope, dessert
and
nachos
then we
first.
You can do the dessert beer trail of Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you could do it in the wintertime. I mean, we could February would be perfect. You could, Valentine's Day and shit.
Yeah, make a heart-shaped dessert pizza.
Oh, that would be cute.
Yeah, yeah. And then you could serve the German chocolate beer with it.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
We just all want dessert.
Yeah,
it's like so much dessert.
I don't have much dessert these days, so anytime I get dessert, like I need it to be phenomenal.
Yeah, we're at the age where we're yelled at when we eat like that anymore.
Well, I mean, at least in my case, it's my doctor yelling at me. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a strange craving for chocolate lately, and I'm not a chocolate person, so I don't know what that means.
You have PMS?
Maybe.
I was going to ask if you were pregnant.
Mouthful. Might be sympathy.
It could be. There is some belief in that. I don't know what actual word I was looking for there, but there could be some truth to that. Some people believe that may be true.
Yeah. I don't know, but chocolate's been my friend lately.
Ryan, I do want to ask first, are you a robot? Because I have followed you on social media for quite a long time, and one thing that's really cool about following Ryan and not just the Poor Man's Brand is, you know, he posts on Instagram pretty much every time he's in the brew house. But holy crap, not only does it seem like you don't ever stop brewing, which at least you post camping things, so I know at least you do get out of the brew house now and then with your kids, but you are not only just brewing like crazy, but you're constantly coming up with new shit too. Like, do you sleep?
Yeah, I sleep pretty good. We have, I don't want to take all the credit for all that. We have a good staff of guys who all are coming up with ideas. It's just that I'm the only one who puts stuff on social media of all those guys. But it's definitely not all me. I like truly still love brewing. And just like, you know, when you do something you love, it doesn't feel like work most of the time. So it doesn't feel like laborsome to, you know, read a brewing magazine and then get inspiration from something or go visit a brewery or, you know, I'm still working through notes from before we even opened on ideas of stuff that I've kind of like put years upon. So I've got till year 10 of different ideas for beers that we're not at yet. So there's some stuff that's outlined from the beginning. And we took a lot of time before we opened to kind of think a lot of this stuff through. And I honestly think it's just like we really, really enjoy our jobs, all of us. I think me, Sam, James would all agree. And I think all of our staff really enjoys their jobs. We try to treat them right. And everyone comes to the table with some really cool ideas. And then I have, like, because of posting all that stuff, a lot of our mug club and a lot of our regulars and people who buy beer in wholesale, they follow me and I get lots of response on stuff. So people get excited about stuff before it comes out. So I've kind of started to feel not an obligation, but I kind of feel like if I skip out on something cool that they can find about early, then, you know, it's kind of like them missing out on something for a little bit. So it's kind of fun to, you know, put the teasers out there and post stuff. And honestly, at this point in my career, I'm kind of taking pictures of other people doing stuff more than me doing them because I make probably like 1 out of every 5 batches of beer, and I'm on the canning line like once a week. So I should probably apologize for taking credit for everybody else.
So James and Sam, does that make your job easier and exciting with all the new products, or are you like, damn it, more work for me now that we're packaging something brand new?
No, our clients, customers, accounts, they all love the new stuff, just like everybody else, and including myself. You know, to have something new or something returning that we all really liked or the community really liked a year or two before, it makes it easy to push, you know, new product, new beers, new styles, or whatever it is. Just something that, you know, the area hasn't seen or hasn't seen in a long time. Yeah, so it definitely makes our job a little easier.
I would agree with that.
Brian, are you planning to package right away since you have the canning line?
Absolutely. Thinking back to, you know, even the beginning of the pandemic when I was at Gretna, we had no packaging ability. So, you know, I quickly realized, and I think these guys did too, how important it is to be able to have that diversity of sales. You know, you never know what's coming down the road. So, like, you know, being able to have those different channels to sell product is extremely important.
Are you going to self-distribute or just sell stuff out of your tap room at first?
At least immediately after open, it'll mostly be out of the tap room, but yeah, it'll be self-distribution shortly after that.
Do you guys have Poor Man's beer on tap at Saint Boniface? And I know there's usually a guest beer on at Poor Man's.
We put one Boniface beer on at Poor Man's so far. We had an open line and just didn't want to leave it open, so we put a beer from Boniface over there. We haven't ran any Poor Man's beer at Boniface yet. We've like been kicking that back and forth, and so both places have 19 lines. We normally run a cider, so we have 18 house beers on. And like the size of the brew house, we're usually right now we've been capable of keeping everything full. If we start to dwindle down, we have an open line, we'll probably bounce up back and forth. But there's not like really a set plan to like always run one beer from the other brewery at the brewery or vice versa. So I don't see it happening all the time, but it's definitely going to happen occasionally.
And along those same lines, will you be doing or have you been doing like on-site like cross promotion of the two different brands? Like you come to Poor Man's and there's like a little thing that says, "Hey, check out Boniface," or vice versa.
No, we're not doing that at all yet.
Yeah. Okay.
It's something we probably should do and get into. I think we might have like put a poster up for one event at Poor Man's that was at Boniface in the bathrooms one time when we first started, but we haven't done much cross promotion yet. We've kind of started this first. So kind of like some background to the whole takeover. So I used to work for a nationwide company that was really aggressive on purchasing stores. And the stores that I took over weren't purchased, but I was moved into kind of like a new territory, and I became, the sole guy, more or less like the owner on the ground for 3 locations overnight. And I learned pretty quickly at the first time I did this, I fucked up a lot. You kind of go in and you start changing stuff right away. You think every idea you have is great. You do all this, and this. And although those ideas might be great, you shell shock all of your staff. You shell shock all of the customers that have been there. You do all these things so wrong that we kind of knew by the time I did the third one of these, I knew that the first 6 months, all you do is fix the obvious. So, there's a faucet leaking in the kitchen. Fix the faucet. There's an employee who hasn't had a review in 6 months. Do a review. There's beer on tap that's old. Get it off tap. So between the takeover at the end of April and the end of this year, our goal has just been right all the wrongs that we can, make everything kosher, make all of our employees understand that like, hey, we're not here to change everything. We're here to make things better. We're here to make your environment good. We're here to make good product, make people feel good about coming to work, and make the consumers feel like, hey, all the stuff that we loved about Boniface is still here. And also there's all this cool new stuff. And, it's not, a flip of a light switch overnight. So that was kind of a conscious effort on our part to make sure that people didn't feel like we were just jumping into this, trying to, make a quick buck sort of thing and just make as much money as possible. This is a long game for us. We're not getting out of this anytime soon. And we wanted to kind of fix all the obvious stuff before we got into the cross promotions and, sharing guest taps, that sort of stuff. It was, we've got years to do all that sort of stuff.
Fair. And I think that goes back to your earlier point that, that's an incredibly smart way to approach it. And that's why you guys were the only ones that could make this work.
Yeah.
Could do like a self collaboration.
We just are releasing one this week.
No, did you really? Oh my God, I missed that.
Yeah, that one was a charity beer. So I'm on, going back to Steph's thing about her saying I'm a robot. I'm on the board of Mainspring for Ephrata too. And that's our, basically our local economic development committees. And we have a New Year's Eve program that is really expensive and hasn't really taken off quite yet. So we're trying to figure out some sort of charity way to bring some money in for that. So we agreed to brew a beer. It comes out tomorrow at Poor Man's and it comes out Thursday at Boniface, because those are their typical release days, are Wednesday and Thursday at each of the breweries. It's an Australian sparkling ale. It's called Ephrata Unexpected, which is what our downtown New Year's Eve event is called. And that's the first kind of collaboration. I joked the only thing that makes it a collaboration is everyone came to work that day. But yeah, it's our first collaboration between the two brands. So that'll be on tap at both places starting this week.
That sounds lovely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's it definitely turned out different than we expected. It's pretty effervescent. It uses Ricau hops. English ale yeast. It's definitely a different beer, and it's carved to like 2.8 volume, so it's really spritzy, which is kind of the whole point behind it, trying to make it like champagne-esque sort of beer.
And what's the ABV on it?
It's only 4.8, so
That's
it's
see,
Wow.
right in the wheelhouse.
that's nice. Didn't we have a former episode where it was like we collaborated with ourselves or something like that?
That sounds familiar.
That sounds, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't remember.
That's what happens when you've done this many episodes.
Yeah. Right.
You should be able to do an audio search from past episodes.
Well, I mean, give it like another 2 months and you
I was
probably
gonna
will
say,
be.
yeah, we'll feed the episodes to like ChatGPT or something.
Yeah. That's actually not that unreasonable to be possible in the
Right.
very near future.
Yeah, exactly.
That could be the app that you guys create.
Oh
There you
God.
go.
There's AI transcripting services now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen those
I feel
floating
like
around.
we get like marketing emails from those companies, like, "Oh, you want transcripts of your stuff?" I'm like, "Well, not really. So, don't waste your energy." And then I realized it'd be a computer, so it's just like all of our energy. Ha ha.
When Google Bard first came out, I tried to get it to transcribe some of our episodes just to see if it would work, and it did not.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of an unsettling experience, though I have to say. But back to collaborating with yourselves. I actually did have a question related that I think you've pretty much worked out. But do you worry? Early on, you said that Saint Boniface was basically like your biggest local competition. Are you worried now with competing with yourself or like cannibalizing, or do you think that the two brands are distinct enough that you could stay in separate lanes?
I think they're distinct enough that we can stay in separate lanes and kind of fit a spot in most of our accounts. So like James coming on as sales, we've had him basically. James is going out to accounts that Boniface already had and trying to sell Poor Man's beer, and Sam's doing Poor Man's accounts that Boniface isn't in, trying to sell Boniface beer, and then they're both trying to pick up new accounts. So I think that they're different enough. I'm not too worried about us competing with ourselves. And our price point is, pretty similar on both brands. There's some stuff about each of them, like Boniface does some beers in 12 ounce, where Poor Man's doesn't really do anything in 12 ounce besides one release that we've done so far. But and there is still some differences. Like Poor Man's is fully self-distributed still. We didn't sign any contracts yet, whereas Boniface is through two different wholesalers, but self-distributes in Lancaster. So it is very much still like they're pretty different animals as far as wholesale goes and competition goes. It's just now we can kind of dictate, like we try our best to not release a new beer each week from each brewery. So like if Poor Man's has a new beer, we try not to put out a new beer for Boniface and vice versa. So that way we're not going into an account and trying to hit them up for, both these new beers. We got a Boniface beer this week and a Poor Man's beer next week sort of thing.
Right.
Didn't you just make a coffee beer too?
Yeah, that beer is so cool. That was like going back on like eye-opening experiences from having beer when you're getting into this. That first time I had the coffee IPA from Boniface, I was probably like 23, and that was a beer that I expected to just absolutely hate. I don't know if someone just gave me a taste of it or how I got to try it, but it completely changed my mind on combination of flavors of stuff. So that was one of the ones back burner that as soon as we got kind of our feet under us that we wanted to come back out with. It's really, really cool beer. It's called Best of Both Brews. The way that they were running it was 4 different versions with 4 different hops and 4 different coffees. So we kind of just picked up where they left off, and we did a new hop combination and a new coffee. So this one is Centennial, Warrior, and Citra in the kettle. And it's like an old school West Coast IPA recipe with Vienna and caramel malt and Munich. And then it's dry hopped with all Mosaic Cryo. And then the coffee we made 15 gallons of really strong cold brew that was Ethiopian Eurochef from Whiff Coffee Roasters and Lidditz. And the two flavors, like as much as it sounds like it's going to contrast, there's like a subtle blueberry note to the coffee that plays really nice with the IPA. And the bitterness of the IPA kind of fills in the void of the cold brew that doesn't have much bitterness. So it's like IPA then with a nice like kind of cold brew coffee finish. It's really cool.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, I love it. It's by far my favorite of the beers we put out under the Boniface brand since Takeover. I think that's the one I'm most proud of so far.
A coffee IPA?
No, me saying
Ryan Foltz, who are you?
I never said I wasn't good at making bullshit beer. I just said I'm not going to make bullshit beer. And then here I am. I'm still making bullshit beer.
Yeah. But that's the gap I'll fill.
There you go.
Fruited sours, yeah.
See? Everybody
Inspiration
brings
Brewing, aka I make the bullshit beers. Hey, but I make a good Hellas.
Yes. You say filling in the cracks with bullshit.
I can't wait for the Hellas.
We joke. That sounded really mean.
We tease.
We tease, really.
I feel like we have some unique perspectives here in brewery owners, from those that have owned for a while and recently added to their ownership, someone that is getting ready to step into their ownership, some experienced salespeople. And James, I think you offer an interesting perspective from stepping away and coming back also. But we know that beer is not, it's not as glamorous anymore, as it were, I guess. And a lot of places are closing. Places that are open are, I'm going to use my least favorite word, are pivoting or making changes to continue to stay relevant. Some of the best beer bars in the world are closing down. And I'm just curious, with everyone here on the call with us, you're all making, huge choices to continue in this industry for quite a long time. What do you think needs to be done, or perhaps what are you planning to do to continue to stay relevant and continue to still make beer part of the conversation, I guess?
Yeah. As the new guy coming in, that is certainly something that's in the forethought of my process. Like, one of the things that I want to do a little bit differently is I've been experimenting with different flavors of seltzer water, like not hard seltzer, just seltzer water, that I keep on tap here at home, working from home in my current career, that is nice to have all day long. I want to do that at the brewery and have some different seltzer water for an option for people that maybe you want to go out with your friends, but aren't necessarily a drinker or a beer drinker. Here's an option other than just plain water that you can have. The other side to that is that lemon lime seltzer water can now be a base for a cocktail. As a PA brewery, I can have other PA products on hand. So if I make my own seltzer water, it's lemon lime, you find an agave spirit, and now you have a cocktail that's like, relatively cheap from my end to do, and will be another option for the non-beer drinker that, again, isn't just, maybe a wine or a water. So I think, we all know beer was a little bit on the downside recently. The alternative beverages, especially like RTD cocktails, are on the increase. So, at least in my perspective, that kind of bridges that gap a little bit.
I love the idea of having non-alcoholic seltzer on tap.
Yeah.
I
like that too.
I would spike that in like every other drink, probably. Like, that is big for me, and I am a beer drinker and a liquor drinker. I love that idea.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I love drinking it on my own, so I have to imagine there are other people out there that are going to be interested as well. And I still haven't decided if I want to like create the flavors or just make a base water with maybe some amaretti pumps that, like, if you want a pump of lemon lime, you put one pump of each in there, almost like making a seltzer cocktail ready to go.
Very cool.
I love that idea. I actually just spent a weekend in New York City. My brother flew in so we could spend time with him. And I was astounded. I shouldn't have been as surprised, but I was really astounded by the amount of NA options at every beer bar that we went to. And it was everything from multiple NA beer options in cans. The Liars brand is my favorite of the NA spirits, and they had canned cocktails from Liars that were available. Some of them had actual bottles of those zero proof spirits and they were making cocktails from them. There were also seltzers. Like it wasn't just like if you wanted a non-alcoholic option, there were options.
Yeah.
But I was equally as shocked that they had to on the board the one we were at a barcade in the village and it said NA and then below it says this means non-alcoholic. And every time I ordered a non-alcoholic beverage, the bartender would or the server would say to me, you know that's non-alcoholic, right? Like there was always that acknowledgement with me to make sure I knew what I was purchasing. But one of the bartenders told us that one of the reasons that, and this was one bar, she was also one of the owners, but this is just one owner's perspective. She said one of the reasons why there are so many NA options is because young kids don't want to drink anymore. They want to do drugs. So when they go out to a bar, they don't want to do alcohol and drugs. So they want to do their drugs and have NA options.
Jeez.
So now I understand like this is New York City. So of course the options are more readily available, but I do think that having a more unique NA option is something that's going to help breweries and beer bars continue to move forward because young people aren't drinking beer. I mean, whether that's the reason for it or not, it is sort of the truth.
Yeah. And there are some, fairly large NA beer companies out there. And, was an idea that I had toyed around but making an NA beer on a small scale that I would have is difficult to say the least.
Well, and it can be dangerous too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get into the food safety issues that there's no pasteurization where I will be, so it's a completely different ball game. So making something like a seltzer water, I think is a easier / better solution.
Plus, I mean, I know you said you want to have like the syrup pumps there potentially if you're not going to make the flavors yourself, but you could also like put together your own simple syrups too and just like have your own flavor blends that you couldn't get a prefab syrup for. So like the possibilities with it are endless, and I'm just like super excited about it because I love seltzers so much.
Yeah. Well, and there is, well, I lied. Beer Hall, he is making a really killer Berliner. I was going to say there's no one in this area because Boniface, their Berliner is amazing. And Sam makes in-house syrups that are out of this world, but I don't always want to drive all the way up to Lehigh Valley. I'm getting old and I don't want to drive as far anymore. So, but I like the idea. So if you make syrups, they can go in the seltzers, but you can also make a fun tart wheat or some sort of sour beer that it could be a 2-for-1 also.
Yeah, and sour beers like that are definitely on the list. You won't have to go far, Steph.
Okay, though, that was the first answer to Steph's question.
Right.
Who wants to chime in next?
So,
I just thought this was a good audience for the question or receiver of the question because you guys are all making, a big risk into investing in this industry for the long run. And I'm happy about it because y'all make killer beer and I want to keep drinking your beer, and Effort is not terribly far from me, but.
Yeah, we kind of felt like it was a smart investment in ourselves. Like obviously every market for every product has ebbs and flows. So it's, beer was not going to be immune to that. There was going to be an aging out demographic of beer drinkers that aren't drinking anymore. And there was going to be the group of beer drinkers that were our group of people turning 21 who saw their parents drinking craft beer. And that's the old stuffy drink that they're not interested in. So that's going to come and flow in the entirety of any industry. So it's not something that was just unique to us. What it kind of did, and I'm kind of like been a bit of like an old man on my porch sort of shit with this, but it kind of is weeding out some of the people who were, running breweries because breweries were busy. You didn't have to care that much about quality. You could just put beer out there. People were going to come in. And I'm not saying that's every brewery that's closed. That's not the case. There's different circumstances for every person. But you could open up a brewery 10 years ago and you were going to be busy. It didn't matter what your beer tasted like. Didn't matter if you knew how to run a business. Didn't matter if you knew how to read a spreadsheet. You knew anything about, anything business related. Now you can still run a brewery and be profitable, but you need to be also capable of running a business. So you need to be able to buy your raw materials for cheaper than somebody else. You need to be able to look at labor costs in your tap rooms and adjust those. Like you have to be on point with everything now because we are facing a smaller group of customers to pull in and less sales for everybody. So we knew that if we were able to bring in, basically we're running two tap rooms that are two brands out of one brewery. So we're really cutting our overhead down drastically from if we were to open up a second tap room. Second tap room still means, you're running the same set of beers over there. There's not a big draw for all new customers. It's the same thing in a different spot. So you got to be far enough away. So the logistics of managing that are harder. We saw this as like an opportunity to take a really smart strategic move where we could decrease overhead even with, the increase in capacity and the increase of loans and really make this thing work because of the upside of just two brands. So like we kind of explained that to some people when we were first, approaching banks and said, it's not us trying to necessarily get huge. We feel like this is the smartest thing to make sure that Poor Man's is around in 25 years. That, when we want to retire, we have a sound foundation. And I truly do believe 5 to 10 years from now, when, we'll all sit down and talk about this again, we are at the bottom of an ebb and it's coming back up. Like it's only going to take 5 years and then we're going to be back into the peak. There's going to be new breweries opening. The breweries that were able to stick it out and hang out through all this are going to be bigger than they were before. They're going to continue to have smaller steps in growth, not necessarily the massive growth that people have seen 10 years ago, but it's going to continue to trend back up for the people that can run it right. And what's happening now with ingredient vendors and all the people that we're buying stuff from every day is they're seeing their customer base dwindle and they're willing to negotiate more and more on prices of things because they want to make sure that not everyone is gone and they go out of business too. So they don't want to, keep driving their prices up. So you can go in and say, hey, I'm here for the long haul with you if you are with me, but for us both to make it, I got to pay this for cans. I got to pay this for base malt. And there's been more negotiation with sales reps in the last 2 years than I've ever seen. And that's something that I think is really important for people that are, struggling right now to stay afloat is you've got to be able to ask the uncomfortable questions to make sure your business does okay.
Yeah.
And just be willing to, put it all out there like, hey, I need to make this happen so I can, keep money coming in and keep this thing afloat. What can you do for me? And, we were willing to take the risk on ourselves. And I truly, without 100% doubt, like no doubt in my mind, Sam and James are the guys to do it with us. Like we're all in it together. We all feel like we're making the right choice and it's going to work out.
So James, kind of along those lines, I think I might have a question going back to something you said earlier about how, you're new back into it, and that you had a car lot and then you sold the car lot.
Yeah.
I kind of along these lines, so did you specifically sell the car lot to go back into beer sales?
Yeah. So kind of long story short, obviously COVID happened. And we were not immune to everything that happened. We were shut down for 4 or 5 months, whatever it was. I couldn't buy, I couldn't sell, I couldn't do anything. So me and my partner at the time, great guy, we're still good friends, no animosity. Kind of, we got through it. We kept our overhead low. We were smart with our business decisions. We came out of COVID and I mean, it was gangbusters because no one could buy cars for 4 months.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter what we had. People would literally just walk onto the car lot. And I mean, you could be a rock and you could sell a car because someone's like, here's money. I need vehicle. My car blew up 3 months ago. So, and we kind of went through that same ebb and flow that Ryan was talking about, the state of the economy, the interest rate, just, everything in general, car sales dipped down low. So we were trying to figure out some stuff. And it was really sort of a odd timing that me and my partner at the dealership, and again, we were a really small dealership. It was just me and him. We had no employees. We loved it. The timing couldn't have been more perfect as far as the car lot's still sustaining. I sold it out to my partner. He's doing great. One person can run that show. So yeah, I mean, we kind of went through the same thing, just on the car dealership end. And, the timing, and it was quite a few conversations between me, Ryan, and Sam, like, hey, how do you want to approach this? Do you want me to come on? They said they wanted me to come on. We kind of figured some stuff out, and, I had a couple months off in between. So, I did a lot of activities in a couple months I was off. I felt unemployed, and it was phenomenal for a few months, and now I'm back at it. And now I just go from selling cars to selling beer. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of where my brain was, because like you said, it was gangbusters after, COVID when things started opening back up. But even into this year, I just got a new car in March, I think it was. And even then, it was very much not a buyer's market. It was very much the dealer, was always going to come out on top, and there was never anything, that could have changed. Or at least
that's sort of a bit of a misconception. Coming from a grimy car salesman, I'll tell you, like, the problem that we ran into is the price of vehicles. People were paying, we had to pay way, just like anybody else. We had to get inventory in.
Of course, yeah.
So when COVID first happened, there were 3 periods over that time where we had no cars sitting on a lot because we sold everything. So me and Ryan got in my truck. We went driving around the county, just buying cars off people's front lawns, fixing them up, putting them on the car lot just to do. But, we were having to pay a lot more for that stuff. So even though we were charging more for those vehicles, we were paying more. So in hindsight, it's like anything else. Like we made good money because we were flipping cars so quickly, but it's starting to settle down. It's only going to get better as interest rates kind of keep coming down. And there are dealerships are gouging people, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, the cost of what we had to do to repair vehicles, I mean, you just figure if we had to paint a front bumper, paint tripled in price. What cost $100 for a quart before was $500. It's all kind of cyclical, I guess, as far as like it, like he said, it's ebb and flows of the market, and that'll settle itself out just like anything else, I think. And I need to find a light because I just realized I'm in this office and it's pitch black dark. I'm just looking at like a shadow.
Like, should we have a voice modulator over you too? Like, it seems like you're a protected witness on the news.
That's what it is. Yeah. No one can know where I'm at or who I am.
That's funny.
I'll find a good voice modulator. Which do you like better? Or I guess which is less stressful, cars or beer?
Oh man, playing golf stresses me out more than anything. Selling stuff and working doesn't really. Ask Ryan and Sam. I love yelling at myself and screaming because I'm, think I'm a better golfer than what I am. Now, it's the only thing with the dealership is, especially with like the ups and downs, it's like there's a lot of downtime. So there was a lot of times like it was a single wide trailer. Me and Ryan would literally sit across a single wide trailer and stare at each other from our offices and send TikToks to each other, whereas like coming on here, there's always something to do. It's not, I don't have the downtime to sit in an office for 4 hours with nothing to do because everything's caught up. There's something to be done. Communication's been the big thing with me, kind of learning to work with employees, work with, the production staff, the sales staff. It's had its new challenges, and I really enjoy it, actually. I mean, it's something I'm really glad I decided to, come on board and kind of go full time with this as a full career.
Also, you buy a lot more beers than you do cars.
That is
just in general.
The volume is immense. Yes, yeah.
I know that was an incredibly insightful observation I made
there. Beer is cheaper than cars. Yes. Thank you.
Over the course of years, I've probably bought a couple cars worth of beer.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
Are we talking amount or volume?
Yes.
Wait.
Perfect answer.
I want to know what
game.
Yeah, let's play a game.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Dan to expound on the difference between amount and volume in this context.
Oh,
I saved you,
like
dollar
amount versus liquid volume.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Understood.
Brian, I'm glad you understood because you were the one I was asking the question. So, boom.
Yeah.
I was too busy trying to think in my head if beer or gas was cheaper.
Oh, that's a good one.
Depends on the beer.
That's true. Beer's more expensive. You think of like the price of a 4-pack versus a gallon of gas.
Yeah. Amount to volume.
Yes.
But then there's also like regular and then premium. So then you could get like a car that runs on hams.
I can also get a half pint of Reading Premium for $2 if I go to the right bar.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Speaking of hams, you guys would have been proud of me. We had a party back in June, and I made sure to get a 30-pack of hams to have on hand.
Oh my gosh!
And there's still some left over somehow. So just every now and then, I get to drink a hams, and I think of you guys.
So the day I went and got the keys from Ryan and went over to the brewery, on the platform at the brew house is a 40 of Miller High Life.
Perfect.
Nice.
I would expect no less. That's great.
You gotta listen.
Yes.
I was thinking like as if it's a ship. I want you to smash that right over the top.
Oh, that is exactly what I was thinking about.
That's funny.
Knowing my luck, I'd put a hole in the jacket of the kettle or something.
Oh, God, no.
I'll do it over the handrail on the steps.
There you go.
Yeah.
Safe bet.
Pretty innocuous. Shall we play a game?
I think we should play a game.
Let's play a game. Why not? Cheers to the internet and welcome once again to Happy Fun Time Games, the podcast trivia segment that is its own biggest competition. Today, we are playing, anybody want to guess, Libation or Fabrication? Particularly, we are playing Libation or Fabrication makes a left turn at Albuquerque again. Today's game is again inspired by the Dark Side Brew Crew blog, which is a website covering the New Mexico craft beer scene, so Steph may have an unfair advantage, that crowns the top-rated and honorable mentioned best New Mexico beer names. But not all of the real beers in today are from that list, but all of the breweries are, so shout out again to those guys. I used this article/blog a few episodes back, and I'm returning to it. Now, I didn't know there was going to be this many people on the call, so I only have 5 questions.
That might be for the best.
Yeah.
That's probably for the best. We're not going to be able to do the penultimate, and we'll figure it out. But we'll begin as we normally do with Dan, and you know how this works. Tell me, is this a real beer or is this fake? Our first beer is called Kiwi Herman.
Oh God, I hope it's real. I really, really want it to be real.
Dan is hoping that is real. Steph, what do you think?
I also think real.
Steph saying real. Ryan?
Real.
Real. Brian?
Also real.
Also real. James?
I'll be the contrarian, not real.
All right. I like that somebody's saying something different. And finally, Sam.
Yep. I'm going real.
Going real. Unfortunately, James, that was not a good strategy because this one is, in fact, real. Kiwi
I knew
Herman.
it.
You just wanted to be different.
Yeah, I play the odds.
I mean, the points don't really matter, so just play the game however's fun for you. That's true.
Yeah, fair enough. I liked it.
Right. Yeah. It's a 6% ABV pale ale made with New Zealand and Australian hops from Boss Brewing. It is hopped with fruit-forward varieties from down under, and no kiwis were harmed in the making of the ale. Moving on.
Wait, is there actually kiwi in it?
I don't think so. It's because it's
that's dumb.
New Zealand kiwi. New Zealander.
Oh, the
Isn't-
people.
Isn't there a law that you cannot put something on a beer label if it's not in the beer? Like if you have a Hefeweizen and you want to put a banana on the label, you can't actually do that because there's no banana in the beer. Shouldn't there also be a law that you can't put kiwi in the name if there's no kiwi in the beer?
I mean, there should be. I don't know if there's a picture of a kiwi on the packaging. I didn't actually look that closely. But
Isn't that a law though?
that I've heard that
Yes,
before, yes.
no, yes, yeah.
I believe
Other
that.
people would know better, yeah. I remember Jeremy from the Chamonix saying that about
Yes.
their Hefeweizen.
Yeah.
Specifically. But yes, people from New Zealand are also referred to lovingly as Kiwis, so maybe that's why they get away with it.
Oh, right. I didn't think that. I just wanted it to be a kiwi beer because that sounds amazing.
Well, but to be honest with you, like when I was like researching this beer, the kiwi thing didn't occur to me until the very end either. I was like, oh, there's no kiwis in it? And I was like, oh. Anyway, Steph, you're up to guess first on our next one. And our next beer is called Munder, she wrote. Real or fake?
Oh, my God. That's lame. That's fake.
Steph saying it's fake because it's lame. Ryan, what do you think?
I'm going real.
Going with real on that
That's
one.
lame.
Brian.
Yeah, that sounds like a Wayne beer. I'm going fake.
Oh, going fake as well for similar reasons to Steph. James, what do you think?
Real.
Saying it is real. We've got quite a variety of, you can only have two different answers, but everybody's saying something different from the person before them. Sam, what do you think?
I'm going real.
Going real. All right, you broke the pattern. And finally, Dan.
I'm going fake. That sounds like a U pun.
Dan also breaking the pattern. This one's real, guys.
Wow!
I mean, I do really like the pun, but I didn't come up with it. So Ryan, James, and Sam were correct on that one. Yeah. Munder, she wrote. Munder. A crisp, full-bodied, and hoppy 5.8% Dortmunder lager from Ex Novo Brewing in Corrales, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, New Mexico. Has a hearty malt backbone balanced out with a spicy hop finish on this take of the traditional German lager. So there you go. Munder, she wrote, was in fact real. We are coming up on Ryan to guess first on our next beer of the game, and this one is called Go Go Godzilla Goza.
Fake.
Saying that is fake. Brian, what do you think?
I'm going real.
All right, Brian is saying real. James?
Say that name again.
Go Go Godzilla Goza.
I like it. It's real.
I was going to say, that's not the question if you like.
I like it.
Sam, what do you think?
I like it too. It's real.
Saying real. Dan?
My man.
Oh man, I like it too, but I'm gonna say fake.
All right, Dan is saying fake. And finally, Steph.
I'll say real, even though it's lame.
It is kind of lame. So I'm kind of torn on what to do with this one.
Oh no.
Oh,
Because I really wanted to include it. So here's the thing. It's a technicality. There is no beer in the world called Go Go Godzilla Goza. However, there are two beers called Go Go Godzilla, but they're both IPAs. How has no one not made a Go Go Godzilla Goza yet? Goza's right there. So the Goza part is fake. I'm going to give everybody a point. I'm giving everybody a point, which is kind of what I thought I was going to do when I first wrote this down earlier today. So everybody gets a point. I just wanted to say Go Go Godzilla Goza because I thought it sounded cool.
Yeah, why would they do IPAs?
I know one's like a red IPA, and I think the other's a hazy.
There is one called Gozilla.
That's a sour. Yeah.
It's a Goza.
Oh, is it a Goza? I saw a sour something too that had a similar Godzilla type name.
Well, it says sour dash traditional Goza.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I saw. But there we go.
Go
So everybody...
Go Godzilla something they say in the movie or something?
that's a song.
No, it's a
Go Go Godzilla.
It's a Blue Oyster Cult song that they begged to be in the movie in '99, and they wouldn't put it in the movie.
Was that the one with Matthew Broderick?
I think so. I don't remember. That's one of those things that in my head is common knowledge, and then you say it out loud, and you're like, that's kind of a weird fact. But anyway, everybody gets a point. I just wanted to include that for my own amusement, so none of you should be punished for that. So we are coming to our penultimate beer of the game, which must mean that Brian is up to guess first on this one, and this is called Vienna Sausage.
What?
Like sausage.
Like Saz hops.
Yes.
That sounds real.
Saying that is real. The puns are painful today.
Yeah, that sounds like a punny beer name that a brewer came up with.
Fair enough. James, what do you think?
Fake.
Saying it is fake. Sam?
Real.
Oh, Sam saying real. We got a real fake.
Confident real.
That was very confident, yes. Dan?
I'm gonna go fake.
Dan is going fake, so we're doing the back and forth pattern again, Steph.
Can you say it one more time?
Vienna sausage.
What are you saying at the end?
Sausage. It works better
like
in writing.
Sausage, but
Sausage. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the Vienna and the Saz part, but after that, I had no idea what was coming out of your mouth.
Sausage.
I mean, I guess that'd be a good Oktoberfest beer. I could see like La Cumbre doing something stupid like that. No, their Oktoberfest is just called Oktoberfest. I'll say real, sure.
Saying it is real. And finally, Ryan.
I'm going real.
Also going real. The reals have it. It is, in fact, real. Now, sometimes I come across a beer pun, and I think to myself, that's funny, but it really only works in writing. But I really wanted to include it. So I thought if I just enunciated really well, the point would come across. But it is, in fact, real. It is a 4.7% ABV American Smash lager brewed with Vienna malt and Saaz hops by Harmon Lane Brewing, which is in Albuquerque, actually. I think we need more Smash beers in our lives, but the reviews of this one were a little bit mixed. So,
no. That shouldn't be a Smash beer. It should have been an Oktoberfest that they used Saaz in, served with a side of sausage.
yeah, they literally just named it after the two.
Yeah, or just a Vienna lager that is not a Smash beer.
Have you guys seen the spent grain sausage thing? You make sausage and spent grain?
No.
The idea is you're supposed to like finish sparge, and then as soon as you start dumping the mash tun, you're supposed to stick sausages in the hot, like 190 degree grain bed or 170 degree grain bed, and let them steep for like an hour. So we never had like the time to do that because we also thought it would make the mash tun kind of gross. So we've taken it out of the grain, like mashed out into 5-gallon buckets with sausages in it, and then ate the sausages like a half hour later, and it's pretty delicious.
Oh, interesting. I would like to try that. That sounds interesting.
Is it Dozer? It's a big lager brewery like in the Midwest. Does like days where they do this.
Where they do that? Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I never heard of that. I would try that. That sounds
Friday.
cool. Yeah. All right. Well, we have come to the final beer of the game. So that means either James or Sam will not have an opportunity to guess first. I'm sorry. So we're just going to start with James. Sam, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
But we will recap the scores at this point in the proceedings just so everybody can kind of see where they stand. And we're all over the map here. We have two people with a perfect score, Ryan and Sam, each 4 out of 4 so far. Just behind, Steph and Brian have 3 points apiece. And with 2 correct each, Dan and James. So nobody is 0, nobody is 1. Everybody's doing fair enough. So we'll begin with James on this one. This is our final beer of the game. Is it real? Is it fake? It is called Animatronic Garden Gnomes.
Real.
Saying that is real. Dan, what do you think?
Wait, shouldn't go.
You skipped Sam.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shouldn't go to Sam next.
Oh my goodness! I wrote James's answer under Sam's name, and it just ruined everything.
So does that mean the points?
I'm going fake.
Going with fake. Okay, now Dan.
I'm also gonna say fake.
All right, saying fake. Steph.
Who am I tied with? Brian? Oh, and he hasn't gone yet.
Yes.
I'll say real.
Steph is saying real. Ryan.
What did Sam say?
Sam said fake. Yes.
All right, I'll go real then. So one of us wins.
Fair enough. Good strategy. And we finally come to Brian. Real or fake?
That is a real beer.
That is a real beer. The reals are wrong. It is fake.
All right.
So Dan and Sam got this one correct.
Yeah.
Animatronic Guarded Gnomes is not a beer, but it is a colorful nickname I took from something I read earlier today. And I would like to have animatronic guarded gnomes in my yard. That would be cool. It's a little bit creepy.
All right, I'm taking that one.
Yes, I think you should.
I will, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but I will say the person being referred to as an animatronic guarded gnome, and what I was reading was Charlie Kirk, so you may want to reconsider if you know who that is.
I mean, in that case, it's a sour beer.
Okay. All right,
I feel like it was going to be that anyway.
Or a fruited sour.
Okay, there's a lot going on here. It's real complicated, but we have one clear runaway, well, not really, winner with a perfect score, Sam. Every single one correct, 5 whole points. Just behind with 4 points is Ryan. And then with a German Smarkle party, but in the middle, and yes, I said Smarkle, with 3 points.
Oh, because it's in the middle. That's why you
It's
said
a Smarkle party. Yeah. This is the point in the evening where I lose the ability to speak. Dan, Steph, and Brian each have 3 points, and James still only 2, but it's better than nothing.
That is
so
true.
There we go.
Woo, yay.
Ooh, yeah, thank you all for playing. And this is the point of the podcast where we shout out our most generous patrons on Patreon, one of which is in the room with us this evening. We would like to thank the following individuals from the bottom of our hearts, beginning with Jen McDonald.
Peanuts.
Eric Dixon.
Hell yeah.
Dana.
Old James.
Those are the only two I have so far of James. Yes.
We cook in a closet.
James Lambert.
I would be like, oh my god.
Chris Mahoney.
I'm gonna go with the Belgian piss.
Sean Sullivan.
Oh, yeah.
Here it comes. Brian Mills.
Oops, I just sharded.
I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant to hit. It just happened.
He's in the room. Jill Chivers.
Deal.
The one and only that is No Baloney, Joe Mansell.
Amazing.
Joe for Simmons.
Smells like betrayal.
And finally, Ben Mangle.
Les tits?
If you want to find out how you can get on this list and some other cool behind-the-scenes perks, go to patreon.com/beerbusters to find out how to become a patron.
Gotta save, though. Command Essing.
Sounds dirty when you say it that
I
way.
know.
Command S.
Oh, I could crank up the gain on the mic and do like ASMR for it. I'm not gonna do that. I hate that stuff so much. No, please don't.
Oh boy.
If anyone wants to go back and hear some ASMR on Beer Busters podcast, you can listen to the last call from the last time we recorded at Levante Brewing.
I was just gonna say there was a whole ASMR thing at one point.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
How could you? We were in the tiniest room we ever recorded in with the most people.
Yeah.
Yep. And there was a pallet full of beer?
That room
was at that time?
No. That was
a
before
different
they
time.
were even open. We were in the office and it was like 8 or 9 of us around that tiny table.
There's a punishment video too.
Yes.
Yeah, and like if you had to go to the bathroom, everyone had to get out of the room so you could get out of the room to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And they have a large facility. Why we were in there, I don't know.
It was very private. I mean, we were very much like tucked away from everyone and everything. But
Well,
yeah.
and like you guys know, we've recorded at the old Poor Man's location, future Inspiration. I always want to say Inspiration Falls, Inspiration Brewing location. It's tight. It was tight quarters when you had the old brew system when we recorded in there, but that was luxurious compared to this.
Had we been able to do this one in person, I had a punishment beer.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
You gave us a punishment beer before, right? Wasn't it like a
in
90s
Steph's
baseball
basement.
beer? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought I
yeah.
remembered that.
It actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I was kind of surprised because wasn't it from like 95 or 96?
Yeah, it was a Coors Brown Ale.
Right.
It was like a Phillies promo thing or something, wasn't it?
No,
Or am I mixing that up?
Rockies. Because
Oh, right. Okay. Got it.
The other sports ball.
Yeah, the other one. Yes. The best
Wait,
punishment.
The Rockies are baseball too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
So
since it's
same
Coors,
same sports ball, just different sports ball team.
yes.
Yes. I remember when the Rockies were new, and the Marlins.
The Marlins, yeah.
I remember that. I played Little League at the time.
Yeah, I think
What
we were
year
in
was
like
that?
4th grade, maybe?
Would have been, what was 4th grade? I mean,
92?
yeah, very early
91?
90s. Very early 90s.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because the Marlins, the Florida Marlins teal, I don't know if it's still the same, but that was like the color of the 90s, I feel like.
Oh yeah, the starter jacket, the whole 9 yards, the
Yeah,
Charlotte
yeah.
Hornets.
I was
Everybody
just going
loved
to
that
say the
color.
Hornets. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to.
93.
93, okay.
Yeah, close.
Yeah, I was 11.
Yeah. So
Ryan, were you born at that point?
Yeah, I was 3.
Baby Ryan. We were at a San Diego Padres game in July, and they whatever night of the week it was the night of the week that they wore their hometown jerseys or whatever, their city jerseys, and theirs were like this bright pink and this like bright teal or mint. Yeah, it was definitely more of a mint color. That's true. They are the coolest freaking jerseys ever. It's like, I don't wear baseball gear, nor am I a Padres fan, but it took all of my self-control not to buy any of their merch while I was in that stadium, because they're the coolest looking jerseys I've ever seen. And like the catcher even had the pads and like all that stuff that matched that minty color. And it doesn't match their other uniform. So clearly all this stuff was just to wear when they wore this uniform, but they were really cool. I was impressed.
I feel like
other teams' hometown jerseys are not as cool, just the San Diego Padres, in my opinion.
Anecdotally, speaking of the starter jacket and the 90s teal, I feel like back then it was acceptable to wear sports gear for a team just because you thought it looked cool. Whether you
100%.
Yeah. I feel like that's not cool anymore, but I'm not a sports guy, so I don't know if that's true.
No, a lot of people are territorial about sports now.
Yeah,
so
I feel
you
I
need to
feel like
know
it's gotten more like that.
everything about the entire history of the team whose apparel you are wearing.
So I say you have permission to go for it, Steph, but apparently the sports community disagrees.
Well, when have I ever cared what
That's
people
true.
think?
Also, I think we should bring that mentality back.
Fair point.
I would love to wear some Kraken stuff. I love the Seattle Kraken's logo and the colors, but I don't know anything about them except that they're called the Kraken and they play in Seattle and they're an expansion team.
Well, I bought an Atlanta Thrashers jersey when they joined, when they were an expansion team for the NHL. For those that aren't sure which ball I'm talking about, it's a puck.
That's not even a ball.
It's a ball that was flattened.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry, because it's a real sport, so we don't use a ball. But and I've never been a Thrashers fan. I've been a Bruins fan forever, but I loved their freaking jersey, so I bought a Thrasher. It even has Kovalchuk's name on the back.
Nice.
I don't even know if he's playing anymore.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I like the old, I guess like 1970s, maybe into the 80s, like Phillies baby blue.
Yes.
I really like that. I would wear a shirt like that. And I'm not like a sports fan, but
the Sixers have a really cool like retro design for jerseys from this season or a couple seasons ago. I love that design so much. I'm also the weirdo who likes the 2024 Friday home game Phillies jerseys, and I will die on this fucking hill.
Well, that's probably their hometown jersey.
It's it's like the blue one with like the Liberty Bell on it and the font. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's their hometown or whatever. That's like what we saw San Diego.
There we go.
Wearing.
Okay. Yeah, no, people lose their minds over how much they hate this thing, and it's a jersey that they wear at most once a week. I think it's cool design and a cool gradient. That's why I like it.
That's why there's options. If you don't like that one, you don't have to buy it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to drink the German chocolate cake beer, you can just have the Helles.
Yeah, I will drink your German chocolate cake beer.
You don't want beer? Just drink the seltzer.
I was going to say, there's always seltzer, yes.
So what kind of syrup flavors are we talking?
What do you want?
Well, you know what? So I love going whenever we're in Lancaster, we go to Wegmans because they are probably my favorite like larger brand canned seltzer water. And they have a Concord grape one that I've never seen before. And it does not taste like, in my opinion, it doesn't taste like Welch's grape juice. It doesn't taste like grape soda. It reminds me when I was a kid, and I don't know, maybe Wayne and Dan will remember this because they grew up in Muhlenberg also, but the Fairgrounds Farmers Market, there was a stand there that had grape drink. And this seltzer is so reminiscent of that. So it's probably like on the Dimetapp end of grape because you know how much I love grape Dimetapp. But this seltzer water is so freaking good. And I love it because it's 0 calorie. It's not overly sweet. It doesn't have sugar in, but you get that essence of that memory of that grape drink. But I also picked up a blueberry nectarine, but we haven't tried that one yet.
Ooh, that sounds
So I
good.
want weird shit that people haven't done yet. That's what gets me excited. When I go into the store and I see it, I'm like, what is this? No one's ever done that. That's what I want.
Also, if I have like 10 different syrup flavors, you can mix and match all you want.
Well, yeah, but then you're getting into some dangerous territory. We all did that in elementary
I was gonna
school in
say,
the
you do the old
cafeteria.
soda machine suicide.
Oh, yeah. I
Like
did
the
that.
equivalent of the dump bucket beer.
Oh, basically.
A little bit of everything.
You could do like a spicy syrup and have a spicy water.
Oh, there will be a spicy beer for sure at some point.
Oh,
But what about a seltzer flavor? You can probably find
What
a way
about-
to like put capsaicin extract in a syrup.
Or like tomato and jalapeno.
The salsa beer.
Salsa.
No, salsa seltzer. And
Yeah.
it's an
Some
alliteration.
cilantro.
Oh, that's a good
Cilantro
idea.
salsa seltzer.
Say
Yeah,
that
that
3
5
times
times
fast.
fast.
That's difficult.
I had tomato tea for the first time in my life when I was in New York City. It is literally a clear liquid hot tea that tasted like the freshest tomatoes you've ever had in your life. And it was divine. And I just found a cocktail recipe through, it's a mocktail recipe through Seedlip with one of their spirits that you can make a tomato
That doesn't sound good.
I screenshot it. A tomato teeny is what they call it. It's for anyone familiar, it uses the Seedlip Garden 108, 2 cherry tomatoes, a half ounce of lemon juice, a half ounce of simple syrup or agave, and you garnish it with black pepper, olive oil, and cherry tomatoes. That sounds amazing, and I want to try it. That's why I screenshot it. So I'm very into tomatoes. So I feel like think about. I know that tomato isn't a vegetable, but our whole lives it was categorized as that. But you should look at many people look at the fruit end first syrups, but maybe vegetables or other foods. But don't be making a sausage syrup. That
No, make a sausage syrup.
Ryan's gonna make his sausage and spent grain syrup.
I was going to say a spent grain steamed sausage.
I'm expecting to come to Brian's Soft Open and get sausage seltzer now.
I mean, we can do a one-off keg.
You could just buy cocktail weenies and just
I'll just
garnish.
get the plain seltzer and I'll bring my own sausage.
BYOS.
Stuff some of the sausages in the keg and then fill it up with seltzer.
This sounds like a waste of sausage, and this is coming from the vegetarian.
Hot dog water seltzer.
I know, that sounds really gross now. Hot dog water seltzer. Ooh.
You know what, though? There are people that might like that. And then you're not wasting the hot dogs or the sausage if you're just concentrating it from the cooking liquid.
I mean, if we stuff the sausages in there, we could pull them back out afterwards, and I'll eat them.
Or you could just leave them in. It's like bubble tea. There's little sausages in it.
Sausage puree.
What about corn?
What about corn?
In a Mexican lager? Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, corn syrup is already a thing.
Yeah, but I mean corn syrup, not corn syrup.
Flavored syrup.
Yeah.
That could be
good. Brewed a sweet corn lager with Lancaster County sweet corn. I'm pretty excited about.
That sounds
it was
nice.
Kind of a pain in the ass because, flake corn that you get for brewing has already been processed, so you can get all the enzymes for fermentation through it. Whereas regular corn off the cob, if you threw that in a mash, you just wouldn't get anything from it. So we had to cook the corn. I had a 50-gallon kettle. We husked all the corn, put it in, soaked it in hot liquor for a half hour, drained it, cooled it with cold liquor, and then scraped all the corn off the cob and kind of mashed it, and then added it to the mash we brewed. It's still in a fermenter. We have it clarifying now, so we haven't tried it very much, but that should be kind of cool. Well, I've been literally wanting to do that for 4 years. So that one's pretty sweet.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I
Yeah.
hope it meets your expectations because that sounded like a lot of work.
This is the third year in a row we've done a beer for Lancaster Farmland Trust, and they always try to pick an ingredient that they can go around to a couple different farms that are preserved and picking ingredients from. So the first year we did honey for a honey brown lager, and then last year we did meadow tea. They went and picked meadow tea leaves from a bunch of different farms, and this year they picked corn. It's called Knee High by July, which is really cool too.
Good name.
Lancaster County saying, so it's really, really sweet. It should be out, I think, the first week of September is the plan.
Nice. Next year you should do tomatoes.
She wanted, so Steph, her name's Steph from Lancaster Farmland Trust, wanted to do pawpaws this year was the first idea. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I had pawpaw beer before. And I looked into that, and that was even way more of a pain in the ass than corn would have been because of all the seeds. So she even hinted at wanting to do pawpaw next year already. So we'll see.
So there is a place where you can get pawpaw puree, by the way. I mean, I know it kind of goes against the what you're trying to do, but
Yeah,
you want to do a pawpaw beer.
They want to try to pick up stuff from the farms, and I guess they had a handful of farms that had pawpaws on them. I don't know. So you know how it is. Once you get past the homebrew size scale of batches, using fresh fruit is just so difficult.
I did a 5-gallon batch of a pawpaw saison last fall, and processing 15 pounds of pawpaws was a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah. So like we brewed 15 barrels of their beer. So like trying to do 15 barrels worth of something would be, we did 50 pounds of the corn, and that was already enough of a pain in the butt for this year.
Wow.
So see something for next year maybe.
What is a pawpaw?
It's the only fruit that is native to the state of Pennsylvania.
I have never heard of that in
I
my
am
life. What
so
is it?
glad somebody asked.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
I've never heard of it in my life.
The flavor
Free,
is like
Free Will has done a beer with pawpaws quite a while ago.
Rick, what is it?
So it's like a tropical fruit, but it's native here. The flavor is similar to mango, but with a consistency like a banana.
I'm going to look that up. Where do they
have-
sell it at? I've never seen that for sale, and I buy vegetables and fruits every week.
You probably won't. They don't last long after you pick them, so it's very hard to retail them.
Oh, okay.
And they bruise real easy, so they don't look good a lot of times by the time you get done with them. They have huge black seeds in the center of them. So like the 15 pounds that I foraged near Mount Gretna gave me a little less than 5 pounds of puree.
Oh, wow.
So it is not a good ratio to try to do something with.
Oh wow, yeah, they are. I've never actually seen one. I've heard of them, but I've never actually seen our big black seeds.
Find some tonight.
Yeah, they should be coming into season within the next few weeks. I started foraging around Memorial Day weekend last year. I'm sorry, Labor Day weekend last year. And that's when they were just starting to fall. You have to wait until they fall from the tree and pick them up off the ground. If they're still on the tree, then they're not ripe.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
You've probably seen a tree before, James, and not realize it, because when they're small, they kind of look like crab apples.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh. Well, I'm going to go finding them tonight.
Generally, they grow in groves rather than individual trees, so there'll be several of them around. They're not self-pollinating. They need each other to pollinate and make fruit.
I learned something today.
That Brian's
You learned that Brian knows a lot of shit about pawpaw.
I keep thinking of like an old grandpa, like out on a farm somewhere. Pawpaws out on the farm, but apparently it's a fruit that falls off of trees that I need to go find now. I'm intrigued.
You've been inspired.
I have been. Thank you. Thank you.
There it is. I mean, can you buy your own pawpaw tree? Like, how does that work?
You can, but it won't produce fruit unless you have multiple.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can buy 2 pawpaw trees.
If you're lucky, you'll get fruit. Like you need 3 or 4 at least.
Now I'm Googling crab apples because I'm like, I don't actually know what a crab apple technically is. Is it a type of apple or is that just what we call it? I'm not getting really good answers at the moment. I'm getting more information about apples in general. It doesn't seem an appropriate time to stick my nose deep into the research. So
I think you were just hoping that Brian would know.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like he knows this much about pawpaws. Maybe he knows about this too.
Brian can talk about his neighbor that used to have a crabapple tree that I wanted to make cider with. And I decided one year I was going to ask him to pick up all the crab apples the following year. And that was the year he cut down the tree.
Oh, no.
That was bad.
Womp womp.
So the proper name is Malus, spelled Malus for crabapple. So I'm guessing crabapple is like a nickname.
Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds equally demonic. Malice. Oh, yeah, Malus. I see it now. Yep. Native to North America. Actually, what made me think of it was I have like in my head the memory that crab apples are like native to Pennsylvania. I know that's not true, but in like my head, that's like it's like the local.
I think it's because they're so common. So many people in Pennsylvania have them in their yards.
Yeah. But
there you go. Horticulture busters.
We often end up talking about farming and agriculture.
That's true.
We get to that topic quite often. What's crab? Crab grass is a thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't eat that though.
Isn't that the kind of grass they have in like Florida? It's like a little sharper.
You can have crabgrass here too.
No, I have crabgrass on my lawn because I refuse to do anything with it.
Perfect.
Yeah, most people treat their lawns so they don't have it.
Don't care. I'm not 80.
Did you say I'm not 80?
Yeah, I think that's something that you do. Like, that's when you transition to an old person, when you care about what your grass looks like.
I care about what my grass looks like, and I'm only in my 40s.
If it's green, it's grass.
I pay someone to do something about it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You either have to be 80 or you have to have a salary that allows you to pay someone else to deal with it.
My lawn's been dead 3/4 of the season because we got no rain. So it's been brown and I didn't have to mow for 3 months. So it was pretty awesome.
Priorities.
See, the real secret to it is just live in the city and don't have a lawn.
Just put a pawpaw or I can't say it. Just put a pawpaw orchard in your backyard.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll take photos and
sold.
Yeah, I'm in.
Who cares what happens to the grass?
I'm just gonna have pawpaws everywhere.
And then Brian will come over and harvest them. And Ryan wants nothing to do with them.
I've just realized that my whole life I didn't know what crabgrass was. Because the pictures I just looked at are not what I thought crabgrass was.
It doesn't look much different than other grass. It's just like thicker blades. And
yeah, it's like a broad relief to it. Yeah.
I was imagining like a scallion almost.
Oh
no.
I remember playing in my neighbor's yard as a kid and my parents being like, oh, that's crabgrass. And I just always in my mind, that's crabgrass.
No, that was
I'm like, no, I've seen
it. You only pull it out of the ground and ate.
That's onion grass.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes more sense now.
Yeah, there we go.
Because now I'm looking at crabgrass and I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I just didn't know that's what crabgrass was.
By the way, you should make a pawpaw syrup instead of making a beer with the pawpaws.
Maybe.
Because then you wouldn't need to puree as many of them to make a syrup.
Have to look at it. Like the other problem with it is that the meat from the fruit oxidizes real quick. So it goes from like a yellow to an orange and like starts to get nasty. So unless you do something with it real quick, you run into problems.
What if you add citrus to it? Doesn't that usually alleviate things that oxidize quickly? Like
Good.
Lemon?
Ooh, maybe that's what I'll play around with this year with them.
And when you figure it out, let Ryan know when you figure out how to make it easy. So when the farmer when Farmer Steph calls and is like, I want you to use pawpaws, he'll be like, I figured it out.
Got it.
And then he can post it on his Instagram story.
I feel like for Ryan, that's a good like mug club night activity.
Yeah. Come help process these 500 pounds of pawpaws.
Why did we lose all our mug club members? Oh my god, that would be hilarious.
Oh, speaking of Mug Club members, will Poor Man's Mug Club members have their benefits extended over to Boniface and vice versa?
No, not right now.
Okay.
So Poor Man's has its own mug club. The renewal is like just ending right now. And then Boniface had its own mug club that they were like only about a month apart. So what we decided to do was space them out a little bit. So like the people who are already on the Boniface Mug Club are going to get to go until I think October is what we decided. Yep. And then we're going to start a new one there. We are changing the benefits at Boniface to like be pretty similar to the ones at Poor Man's, except for you get a free pizza on your birthday. Cool. But there'll be like a new Mug Club glass, an oversized glass like we do at Poor Man's, free beer on Thursdays. There's a discount on to-go beer, just like at Poor Man's. But right now the two clubs are separate still.
Okay. One of my friends is a Poor Man's Mug Club member, so I was trying to get him the inside info to see if he could just jaunt on over to Boniface, but I'll tell him to sit tight.
Our employees have ID cards so they can go back and forth from place to place and get discounts at each. But
that's
the
cool.
only thing like that so far, yeah.
No, that's really good. I mean, I love that you guys take care of your employees as well as you do. That's great.
Yeah, we try our best. Sam and I met each other at work, and we've both had pretty unfavorable work situations in the past, and we've kind of gotten to watch some of that sort of stuff and realize what kind of employers we wanted to be, all of us. And I think we take that most, like, to the same level of, want to put out quality beers. You want to make people that work for you proud to come to work, and we want them to feel comfortable and happy and have, good lives outside of work and not be stressed about their day job and all that sort of stuff. So I really hope that we're doing that.
Well, and I think that also extends to your patrons also, because I think that's very evident when we come to Poor Man's for a hoagie and or beer and skee ball when it's working. There's just an overall welcoming vibe from you guys and from the staff, and it's just a welcoming place to be. And I am personally looking forward to there again being 2 places in Ephrata that are going to be more welcoming and safe places to hang out and enjoy some good beer and food. So thank you for everything that you've contributed, and thank you for empowering our friend Brian to finally open up his place. And I look forward to when there's 3 places.
You guys want to meet Saz?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Oh,
Not at all what I expected. Oh my God.
Oh,
It's a dog named Saz.
Oh,
oh my gosh, look at that face.
so cute.
Want to come back?
It's an ugly.
She's gone now.
Uh-oh.
Fluffy
Yeah,
cloud.
which cat is on your lap, Brian?
it's Tonks.
Oh, I just see one ear sticking.
Yeah. Just a little... Oh, there we go.
What
Yeah, this
going
is
on?
Tonks. Then my chocolate lab that's down at my feet is Lupin.
Oh. Well, Ruby was here for a second, but I think she left. Yeah. And Jack's under his chair as always, but
There's the cat.
There we go.
There.
Now, I feel like I got to go get my dog, but it's late now. So.
Yeah. Bagel and Peeps are floating around somewhere out there. And
Yeah, I was hoping my
sure
guy
to
would
say
make an
hi.
appearance, but he didn't.
I haven't met your cat yet, and I'm not happy
Back to the
about
Pawpaws.
that. Back to the
Different pawpaws.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know there's a lot happening, but Brian, I guess we'll start with you. We mentioned it earlier. People want to learn more. Where do they go?
Either Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Inspiration Brewing Co. All the same across all platforms.
Perfect. And Sam, because I feel bad that we haven't heard much of your voice lately, where should people go if they want to learn more about Poor Man's and or Saint Boniface?
Facebook and Instagram, same thing. Poor Man's Brewing Co. and Saint Boniface Brewing as well.
Beautiful.
this brings back memories to when Sam lost electric when we recorded for you.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That's right.
They were.
Sam's almost completely in the dark right now.
Yep.
I have
Mike
light.
King
You can't
drunk
see
on
me.
black and hams.
Oh, geez. Yeah, exactly. Well, while you're out there following the aforementioned social medias, which you should keep a vigilant eye on all of those, and, maybe the ones I'm about to say too. Remember, you can follow along with us, Instagram and Threads. We're at Beer Busters. Facebook, we are Beer Busters Podcast. Don't forget the website, beerbusterspodcast.com, where you can either click on the shop tab or add/shop to that URL. YouTube, we are Beer Busters Podcast, and on Patreon, we are Beer Busters. Get yourself access to all the cool behind the scenes stuff, the last calls, the punishment videos. There's a good archive of things that is well worth the price of admission for as little as $1 a month. Can't beat that deal with a stick, no matter how hard you try. I guess I will not repeat my mistake of messing up Broadcasting 101, and I will individually say this, but also mention, Brian, I'm so excited for what's going to happen with Inspiration, and of course, thank you for coming on the show yet again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm so happy to see what's in store.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. And, Ryan, Sam, James, thank you guys so much. I know I said one by one, but then I realized there was groups and mismatched numbers. So believe it or not, there is math and logic happening up here. It just doesn't make sense outside of here. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. I'm so happy that you guys have Boniface under your umbrella now, and I'm so glad to see what's going to come with that. And you're right, the only people who could do it justice and do it right are you guys, and I'm glad you guys got it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I think, unfortunately, this brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. Lancaster beer is nothing to be messed with, and this is proof. And the scene is evolving and evolving for the better. So get yourself to Lancaster, drink the Lancaster beer, specifically the beer presented by these breweries when they're all up and running. Of course,
How is Amtrak not sponsoring us yet, by the way?
Well, I'm working on it. I have contacts. And of course, thank you for listening. If you could leave us a rating and review, do it for all the shows you listen to. Well, my name is Dan Baker. I am joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Heffner.
And the demented and fermented,
Wayne Baker.
Remember, it's not about the liquid, it's about the experience. I didn't fuck it up, and we'll see you next time.
What about crab cakes?
Oh.
That's all I got. Nope, and Sam's
We
going.
lost Sam.
Sam left.